そことしろ水拳騒動辻切り飛び蹴り覚悟しろまだ抜かねえよっこし今日はどう広がるローの喧嘩賢者マイクロフォンセンターとプライムベンダーバットアント感動エンターテイメント公共の電波
Hey, what's going on, guys? Short Fuse here, and welcome to the third episode of Road to King of Fighters 14. A lot has happened in this past week, and KoFXIV has officially been announced. First trailer has been released and was met with a lot of anger and disappointment from the community. So let's talk a little bit about it. Alright, so judging by the like-dislike ratio from the trailer SNK has uploaded on YouTube, it's a 40-60 split. 40% likes, 60% dislikes. Now, I don't think that the 40% of people who gave the video a thumbs up are necessarily enthused with the way the game looks. I think a vast majority of them are just happy to see that King of Fighters is still alive and want to give their support. And I understand where they're coming from, but things like these ignite a bit of an internal conflict in the hearts of fans. We want to support SNK. We are grateful for the decades of stellar entertainment and joy they have brought us, and we don't want to turn on them. But at the same time, giving our support to this feels like setting a precedent, lowering the bar, making SNK think that this is okay, that we're fine with it. It's a bit of a catch-22. By supporting the graphical style, we send out the message that it's okay for them to continue on this path, but at the same time, if we don't support, SNK will be losing money and won't stay afloat, putting their future in jeopardy. Now, lately there's been a lot of graphics don't make the game talk going around. But I think that's a commonplace banality. It's an empty platitude, because graphics are an integral part of the experience. Us humans are visual beings. We like pretty things that are pleasing to our eyes, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Beautiful visuals is what immerses you into the game. It creates the atmosphere. Now, I can't speak for other games, since 2D fighting games is all I've ever played, but even in fighting games, which are a very technical affair, graphics do matter. And SNK has been on top in that department for well over 20 years, so we the fans are accustomed to a certain standard. A drastic departure like this is a tough pill to swallow. It's like if you've been going to an upscale French restaurant for 20 years and all of a sudden they start serving you McDonald's hamburgers. Now, I've never been to an upscale French restaurant. I'm more of a cancer-causing $2 microwave meals and budget canned goods kind of guy, but you see where I'm going with this analogy. And the jump to 3D would have been fine if it wasn't for the fact that it was done in such a clunky, misguided amateur fashion. It's not 2004 anymore. Things can be done nowadays with 3D. It's a brand new world out there, brand new techniques, and these guys are using 10-year-old technology. And you might say, oh well, they're on a tight budget, things ain't so good right now, but that's not it. It's the art direction itself that's garbage. Cell shading is the only way to go for 2D fighting games making the jump to 3D. And cell shading is not that hard. It's basically just putting a cartoon shader to the 3D models. It's not some mystical, mysterious technique only known to a chosen few. But for some reason, the people at SNK have this idea that this looks good, because they keep pushing it. They did it in the Maximum Impact era, they did it with the Pachinko stuff, and that Samurai Showdown game nobody wants to talk about. Amateur 3D was acceptable back when Fatal Fury Wild Ambition came out, and we gave them a pass, cut them some slack. But that simply won't fly anymore. Not today, not in 2016, and not when games like Guilty Gear XIV exist. Look, SNK, let me level with you. Neo Geo, biggest thing on the planet for 15 years. Neo Geo 64, a complete and total flop that most people don't even remember or knew existed. Get the goddamn hint already. The 3D thing you're trying to push ain't happening. It never will. I brought up this point before and I'll do it again. The only people who care about KOF are the fans who have been there since the beginning, or maybe since the NES era. There is no new KOF fans sprouting up all over the place. We are all SNK has, and we need to be catered to. I mean, just look at the demographic on my channel. 13 to 17 age group, 3% viewership. And even that I suspect is from some older brother who came home to visit and is watching some KOF stuff from his kid brother's account. Read the room, SNK. Know your audience. And even if the new kids will be willing to give KOF a try, you think this is what's going to bring them over to your side? So who are you doing this for? Who's the target demographic here? We certainly aren't. And the 10-year-old kids are certainly not going to give a PS4 game that looks like a PS2 tech demo a second glance. So why not do the right thing? Like I said a long time ago, scrap this shit and start a Kickstarter. Set your price and we will match it. I guarantee you that. And don't tell me it's a matter of pride or not wanting to come across as some amateur low-budget indie company. Because if pride had anything to do with this, they wouldn't have the chutzpah to put this trailer up. Because yeah, this trailer looks real professional and not amateur at all. That was sarcasm, by the way. Financial problems aside, let's not act like good-looking games can't be done on a budget. King of Combat did it. They were on a budget, and they were a bunch of nobodies. Some Chinese up-and-comers nobody's ever heard of. Many others did it. Hell, there's fucking 14-year-old kids that come out with great-looking stuff in their mother's basement. There's no excuse for this. This is just laziness. This is management that's completely out of touch with their core audience, and that's a death sentence for somebody who's selling a niche product. I'm very worried that this will effectively kill the franchise. When Maximum Impact came out, things were different. For starters, Maximum Impact was a spin-off, but it also came out at the time when SNK was very active with yearly releases. Oh, what's that? Maximum Impact comes out in 2004? That's fine, because 94 Rebound also came out in 2004. KoF11, one of my personal favorites, came out the very next year in 2005. 2006, it was Neowave and Battle Coliseum. So we were set. We got our true KoF fix. Maximum Impact was just a droplet in the ocean, but things are different now. KoF14 is the only thing we're getting after a long time of radio silence, and it's gonna be the only thing we'll have for quite a while, so we have nothing to fall back on. This is it. The one thing SNK could do that wouldn't require any work but would appease fans, well, I can speak for myself, I don't know about the rest of you, but just call it Maximum Impact 3. Or KoF Legends or something, as long as this is not considered part of the main series. I know changing the title doesn't really make a difference, it's more of a placebo effect, but nonetheless, we love this shit, probably more than we should, and we just don't want to see our passion's name being dragged through the mud. Just humor us, SNK, change the name, so that we don't associate this with the main series KoF. It's not much, but it would help. This way we can dismiss it as just a spin-off and keep the faith alive that maybe one day we will get a KoF 14 worthy of its name. Now please keep in mind that all my criticisms come from a place of love. I'm afraid that this game as is will kill KoF forever, and I don't want SNK to fail. Call it tough love if you will. I'm literally embarrassed for him. How is it possible that a game from a low-budget Chinese studio that came to life as a homage to SNK's greatness and was released in 2012 looks a million times better than what SNK is coming out with in 2016. To give you a KoF analogy, this is like if Shingo would make Kyo look like an amateur and kick his ass. By the way, I love Shingo way more than Kyo, but you get the point. It ain't happening. So where do we take it from here? What do we do now? Well, I think it's important that we let SNK know how we feel. Make them understand that as it is now, the game will flop, both critically and commercially. Not to mention it will destroy SNK legacy and reputation, which is already shaky thanks to all the pachinko crap and re-releases of old titles. SNK needs to hire the art director and 3D modelist from the King of Combat, even if just as consultants. Let's not forget that these are 3D models. We don't need them full-time to work as animators and draw everything frame by frame. A 3D model of a character is done in one workday. Once SNK has the models, they can do whatever they want with it. You see what I'm saying? It's not that hard to make a change. It can still be done. It's basically just about replacing the character models. Don't even have to start from scratch. They could just retouch the existing ones. The animations, the engine, the flash effects, backgrounds, collisions, skeleton rigs, that's all already done. Just replace the models. Easy peasy. And as a matter of fact, I think the guys from King of Combat would be honored to be given this task. Shit, they probably even do it for free. Alright, well, I said my piece regarding the graphics. The question is, will we still play the game if it were really good? Could we overlook the graphics? I think the answer is yes. I wouldn't be happy about it, but if it plays like 2002 Unlimited, I'm in, no questions asked. It is true that graphics alone do not make the game. They are part of what makes the game. So let's go ahead and analyze the very short gameplay trailer and see if we can find some silver lining. Stiffness of the models, bland textures, uninspired backgrounds, and poor, awkward, and clunky 3D animation aside, gameplay wise, it gives me a very Maximum Impact vibe. The attacks feel chained. Maybe I'm biased because the graphics look so Maximum Impact-y and it immediately reopens old wounds, or maybe I just can't picture a game that looks like this having precise links. When I see 3D like this, I can't help but think of simple change that don't require any timing whatsoever, but the trailer itself does not indicate any change. All they've shown is some of Kyo's and Yuri's most iconic special moves and standalone attacks, no normal links. The teaser was very short and we got very little actual gameplay, so I'm sorry, but there's not much to analyze here. Too early to tell. Now on SNK's website, there's 2 empty slots that will be filled with new trailers periodically, and maybe those will give us more to work with. For now, all we have is a showcase of individual special moves. We have what looks like Yuri's standing heavy kick colliding with Kyo's 108 on a counter, which gives off a weird blue glow, so maybe there's gonna be some mechanic revolving around counters. Here we see Kyo doing some sort of HD activation or maybe a desperation move. Here we see what looks like a guard cancel attack followed up by something, maybe a desperation move, although it's very reminiscent of the guard attack from KoFXIV. And that's pretty much it for now. Kinda scraping the bottom of the barrel here. There's no vitality or super bar seen in the trailer, no combo counter. I was looking for some abrupt animation cancels or subtle glows that would indicate a canceling mechanic, but there's nothing. So only time will tell. Now to wrap this up as a closing argument, my head's a little clearer now. In the previous video, I was obviously shocked. First impression was not good. Taking a second look at this whole affair, maybe it's salvageable. Maybe the graphics will change if we complain a lot. Changing all the character models would take about a month of work for a decent team of 3D modelers. The rest of the game's already finished, so it wouldn't be that much of an undertaking. It is doable, even for a June 2016 speculated release. We don't need top of the line Guilty Gear style 3D, we just need it to be passable. Make it look like Tatsunoko vs Capcom and we're all good. That's all we asking for. Infuse some soul into this thing. Matter of fact, just leave it as is and put a toon shader on it. It's one click away. Even that would be enough. Barely acceptable, but enough. Just make sure that your voice is heard. Make videos about it. Tweet at SNK, Facebook, whatever. Let them know. Maybe they'll change the graphics. And if they don't, well, it could still be a good game. Maybe it will play like 2002 Unlimited. Maybe it will have a 50 character roster. Maybe it will have complex and well thought out combos that are satisfying and extremely hard to pull off. Maybe the game itself will not be as much of a joke as the graphics suggest. It's all possible. Doubtful, but possible. I've been very optimistic for the past 2 years since I started this series of videos, maybe too optimistic. I put my faith in SNK and always gave them all the moral and financial support I could, as do most of the fans. We're all in SNK's corner and we want them to do good. So when we see such a decline in quality, we are justifiably outraged. SNK should strive for greatness, not just for us but for themselves too. To keep their good name intact, please understand that it all comes from a place of love. We're not a bunch of ungrateful bastards that turn their backs on SNK as soon as the going gets tough. We've been there through thick and thin, always had their back, and we're willing to keep doing this. In fact, we're willing to take it one step further. We will put our money where our mouth is. Get a Kickstarter going. We will support, not just with words cause talk is cheap. We will finance KoFXIV out of our own pocket, no questions asked. We'll gladly do our part so that SNK can do theirs properly. This is what being a true fan means, not blindly supporting and condoning everything SNK does on principle, just because. We need to steer them in the right direction instead of indulging and encouraging their bad behavior, for their own good, for the good of their future. Sure, a pat on the back, encouraging word and a wow, we'll put KoFXIV right here on the fridge, slugger, will be all nice for the time being, but sometimes a parent has to be strict with the kid and tell them that maybe this isn't fridge worthy. And maybe they should try harder, and maybe not everybody should always get a participation ribbon. And that will help them in the long run. Just like us bitching and moaning about KoFXIV will help SNK get their shit together and stay alive so that they can keep bringing us high quality top of the class fighting games like they've been doing for decades now. We deserve it and they deserve it too. Now I hope I don't come across as elitist or snob or pretentious, but I've been with SNK for 21 years now. And I hang with and talk to a lot of people who've been here for just as long or maybe even longer, and are just as passionate as I am about this. I also see comments other people leave on my videos. I'm entangled and in touch with the SNK community, so when I say something I make sure that it reflects what the majority of the community believes. Now if you have a different opinion, different expectations, desires, standards, that's perfectly fine. I'm not dissing people who see things differently. You like Maximum Impact? That's fine. You like the way KoF14 looks, the graphics ain't a deal breaker for you, that's fine. And I'm happy that you're gonna get to play a game that will bring you joy. No sarcasm here. However, for me and the majority of fans, this is an issue, and that's who I'm speaking for. So I will be outspoken and blunt about it. Alright guys, this is gonna be it for now. This video was more of a rant, again, but I've said my piece now and I think I'm done with it. Just had to get some stuff off my chest. It is what it is. All we can do is wait and see. As always, I will keep you informed with all the new developments. I hope the future trailers will give us a better look at the actual gameplay and give us something we can actually analyze. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.